Hi guys, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery, and I'm located in Van.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Highland Heights, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
All right. Becca, hello. We're live.
Well, hello.
You're in quite a comfy situation there.
I am.
Nobody
So
can see this, but you're
if
like, mm.
I think was it 2 episodes ago? I was in Pennsylvania. Maybe it was 3 episodes ago. It was the one with Taylor, and I was in Pennsylvania, and you asked me if I was like, if there was a pool or something. I think Taylor did. And I was like, no. And you said, if there was a pool or a hot tub, she'd be in it. And guess what? There's a
You're
pool
in it.
and I'm in it. And Cheryl she's gonna say hi, but she probably won't chime in that much. But she's sitting right next to me and we're kind of chilling. She's not in the hot tub because she had surgery, but she might be in a few days.
Okay.
But I
Maybe
felt like
she can dip a toe in or something, but
yeah,
that might make you feel colder if you have a little bit in the tub and you're like,
yeah, that's true. I felt like I had to be in the hot tub for this for the very
I mean, that was a nice surprise. I didn't know where you were going from your travels, where
yeah,
you'd be next, but
yeah.
it
So
fits.
I'll start with because I usually ask you how you're doing. I'll start. I'm currently, because I've been traveling around, I'm currently in south of Atlanta in Sonoya, Georgia, and it's like a small suburb.
It's the town of The Walking Dead.
It's the town of The Walking Dead. And
Oh, like they filmed all of the show there that's
yeah,
based in like
yeah.
Georgia or
So like where we are is like 5 acre plots. So they live on a 5 acre plot and like the stars are insane. And I just came from Savannah, Georgia, and I met this is weird. This is a fun little thing. I was in Savannah and I went to Charleston first and then I drove down to Savannah. And while I was in Savannah, I went to this store and I saw this little ceramic egg platter. And I was like, "Oh, that's really cute." And it reminded me of something I'd seen that had gotten like semi-famous. And I was like, um, "Do you know the person who makes this?" And she's like, "Actually, it's my boss who makes it. She owns this store." And she gave me her card and I like looked her up and she already followed me. And so I
Mhm.
put a post because I found that if you message them, they never get back to you because it's always in a unread message request. So I
Right.
post on one of her stories and was like, "These are so cute. I was just in your shop today." And she like replied back and messaged me and I actually went to the Savannah Clay spot today where
Oh.
where she has a membership. And
I
so
think I've heard of that. I think I looked that up when we were in Savannah before, but I didn't stop in.
yeah, shout out to them. Lisa owns it and she's so sweet and it's so cute. It's like the cutest clay studio I've ever been in. The floors are like checkered. Rachel would love it. It's like all red
Mm.
with checkered black and white floors. Like the accent color's red and there's a little trailer out front and yes. I so Savannah was amazing. I really like Savannah. Apparently they call it Slovana because there's
Slovana.
yeah, because there's only 150,000 people there and it's just kind of like a town. It's
Yeah, we love Savannah. I think the size is great. The
yeah,
architecture, obviously, Rachel's all about that. The Victorians, the Spanish moss, the squares everywhere make it really nice.
yeah, and like so if you ever want to go to a southern town, head to Savannah and Charleston's great too. But Savannah's a little bit lower pressure than Charleston's quicker. That's what I feel like. Charleston
Uh-huh.
more quick and
They have similar vibes with the maybe I mean, we're basing everything on the architecture and
right, the
the
architecture
look of everything.
but the speed of the places are very different, I feel like.
Hmm.
Um Charleston is very fast paced and like more of a big city type feel and Savannah's more of a small city type feel. So,
And
um
Charleston's right on the water, I think. Savannah is not. Well, Savannah's got that river, but it's
yeah,
not.
Charleston is a peninsula and Savannah is on a river, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really great. And Just don't ever go in the summer. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, the last couple of times we went, I think it's been July, so it's very humid and
Yeah.
pretty
Hotter than
tough to
huh.
go around there in Savannah and Charleston.
Yeah. So
I
it
think the
was
last time we went, we flew into one of them and we took an Amtrak between them,
oh
and
that's
then we
cool
flew out of the other one. So
like that. Yeah, there's
it was pretty good.
I went to this like ancient ruins in between and it's like so have you ever heard of the Gullah people?
No,
Okay, well, do you remember the show Gullah Gullah Island?
I feel like I've heard of it. Is that an anime show?
No, it's a kid show. It's like it Gullah Gullah Island. Anyway, that's based
Kinda.
like the Gullah people, and the Gullah people are I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but the Gullah culture is very prevalent in Charleston and I assume Savannah as well. And so I went to like an ancient ruins. I don't know for sure if it was the Gullah people or not, but but it was so cool and the building was made of shells and
Mm,
that type
yeah.
of mortar. And like it was so stinking cool to like go there and like it's very like it's definitely like a sacred land sort of situation.
Uh,
Definitely like respect. Like the cats didn't. Don't worry, the cats did not leave the van. Um, but yeah, it was really cool to see that. And what else? I went to two art supply stores. I only spent $100 in one of them. And then the next one, I only bought art supplies it was a reuse art supply store.
mm. You
Uh,
probably would have went out of there with a ton if you would have spent 100 there.
you know what? No, I was honestly disappointed because everything was like over 50 cents in this store. And I was like, this is not the point of a restore. It's the point is to just get rid of it and like help the people in your community, which I understand, but
How do
like
they stay open though if you don't pay anything for it?
yeah, you still got to pay somebody to work it. No, but like here's the thing. Like a pencil, like a mechanical pencil was like $1. Like it's
Same price as regular.
yeah, it's like the same price as regular and it should have been 10 cents. Like
It should have been $1 for like a handful of them or something.
exactly. Like it just felt really expensive to me as far as a restore is concerned. Like they have one up in Sheboygan that's called Hello Happy and everything is like less than 25 cents. Like they're just trying and like I think the more supplies they get in, the easier it is to sell them. And so I think that the Sheboygan one really just ruined it for me because they're doing it right. And
Maybe it's just volume and foot traffic. Maybe they don't have enough foot traffic to charge 25 cents for stuff.
maybe they don't have enough foot traffic because they're charging $1.
I don't know.
You
What
know?
brand of pencil though?
Yeah. I did
Yeah,
find
the one that's in Cincinnati, I think is closing.
really.
Indigo Hippo, the one that's in downtown.
You should go there and see if everything's $1 and then be like, the reason you're closing. Because
It's also in Over the Rhine, so it's like that's valuable rent
yeah.
there.
Well, that's true. They are in the middle of Savannah, so I imagine their rent is really expensive. This place had both new stuff and old stuff. So that was nice.
Yeah.
But
So where you headed from there?
I'm in Atlanta for a week. We're gonna do Thanksgiving and
Mm,
then go to Memphis. Um Also SCAD is in Savannah.
yep. Savannah College of Arts and Design.
Yes.
They also have campus stuff right here in Atlanta.
Yeah, they have a campus in Atlanta and I went into their store and everything was priced so much. It was so expensive. I was like,
Your college bookstore, everything.
yeah, everything was so expensive. Like I saw this there was I wanted to support one of the artists, at least. And the cheapest earrings I could find were $56 and they were studs. And but the most expensive earrings I saw were $990 and they were studs that were smaller than the ones that I got.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were they made out of a different material?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they had a diamond gold, but market value it probably was $100 to make. So
Mhm.
900% of that's pretty good markup.
Sounds like you're not happy about the pricing there in Savannah.
Sure not. Like they think they're the shit. No. It's just it just makes me sad that everything's so expensive.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how cost of living is in Savannah, Charleston area.
Well, I asked some of the prices and I think median, like if it's in like really fancy, like the city market, which is like the main area,
The
it's
river, it's on the river, right? River Street or whatever.
like really expensive for like a retail shop, obviously. Like,
There's a good art store down there on the river that we've walked around. I don't
yeah.
it had a variety of items. They didn't have much pottery in there when we stopped in, but
Yeah. But it's probably, I would say you're probably looking at like, I don't know, a 300 square foot space. You're probably looking at like $10 a square foot. So,
yeah.
yeah. And then I would say that probably not not in regular Savannah, you're probably looking at like $1.25 a square foot.
Yeah, there's some hit and miss areas of Savannah.
Yeah. Anyway, how's life? What are you up to?
We
Tell me
just had we just had our soda firing workshop.
how was that?
So it was the second one. Everything went swimmingly. The firing took pretty long, but all the attendees were good. One of the attendees let me know about a week and a half before that they couldn't make it and they wanted to donate their spot to somebody.
Oh, that's really
So
cool.
that worked out well, and I offered it up to my mailing list of folks that already showed interest in the soda firing, and then turned out that the daughter of one of the women that were coming, they kind of co-own a gallery or a pottery studio in Connersville, Indiana. I don't know if you know where that's at, but it's not that far from Indianapolis. She ended up snatching up that spot, so it was four women from their studio that came, and then we had one person that was local to Cincinnati in the Clay Alliance with me, so she's not that far. And then we had one other person that came in from Louisville. So
Nice.
it was a nice group. I kind of like the the community studio coming out for it because there's already that camaraderie and there's
Yeah.
also they co-own it, so like they know that the work involved in like setting things up and helping out with the work. So they're willing to help with a lot of things, which is also very, very needed. Um, with like, just cleaning up buckets and what can I help you with? What can I bring in? What do we need to clean up? What do we need to do now? All that kind of thing. So everything went pretty smooth, glazing, loading. Hold on.
This is a short commercial break for Ryan to cough.
And yeah, the I was up late on Friday, which I typically am because obviously I'm doing podcast things, and then I was watching some of the boxing thing with Tyson and Paul stuff that night. So I was up kind of late, and then I was thinking, we're pushing 2 o'clock. Should I just start the kiln? Because last time I started it at 6, I think, or 5,
Yeah.
but it was in August, so there's a lot more daylight. And I'm like, okay, well, it gets dark sooner. I would rather front load it, so get more hours on the front end of the firing, and then hopefully we can not have to fire it too long into the evening. So I ended up starting the kiln at 2:30 in the morning
That
instead
sounds
of
cool.
5 in the morning. So I mean the beginning of the firing, I just kind of turn it on and then let it coast pretty slow, and I turn it up every like hour and a half or 2 hours. So I go really kind of gentle in the beginning and then ramp it up a little bit as we go. But it was still a very long firing. I think we still didn't get done until 8 o'clock at night. So it
Oh
was
my God.
pretty long.
Is
Like
it just because it was so cold, maybe?
I think it was a couple reasons. So the one of the tanks was kind of freezing up. So I think I probably should have switched to the other tank sooner.
Oh,
But I
okay.
still had a good amount of propane in the one. So I could have cut off a little bit of time there, but also I had a heavy period of reduction. So whenever you do that, it definitely slows down the pace a lot. And the main reason you do the reduction is so I can level out temperature from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Because generally, if I'm firing at a regular pace and it's pretty consistent, there's no reduction, the top is going to be at least a couple hundred degrees or 300 degrees warmer than the bottom.
Yeah.
So you're talking a couple cones at least by the time you get to the end. So it will level out a little bit when you put the soda in, but I tend to put it in reduction around 1900 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the for every degree that the top increases, the bottom will increase like 3 or 4 degrees. So it
Oh,
really tightens up that gap between them. So the plus was I ended up with the most consistent firing from top to bottom that I've had so far. So I think I kept it within like 30 degrees from the top shelf all the way to the bottom shelf, which
so maybe you've been rushing the firings a little too much.
I mean, it still feels like a long time. Like I feel like I've talked with Kevin and like Isaac, like they don't fire it that long. I don't think John fires it that long either. Like I feel like Kevin always said it took about 12 hours or so. I mean, I'm pushing 16 hours, 14 hours. Like that
Yeah.
seems very long, but I mean, the consistency's nice. As long as I'm not wasting a bunch of fuel, I guess it's not that bad, but we'll see. I'd like to trim it down a little bit. But I think I've also figured out a better way to load it so that, the higher shelf in the bottom, so it
Mhm.
allows the bottom to even out a little bit more than the top. So everybody was happy with the results overall, though. We had
Good.
it.
Yeah, well,
Generally, I have people have a mixture of flashing slip items and glazed items, so you can kind of get a mixture. And yeah, everybody's stuff looked really good. I was pretty happy because I only had like 3 pieces in there, so I didn't really have to clean up any pots after because I kind
yeah,
of saved the room for everybody else. So, but everybody got between 5 and 10 pots in there
that's
for
good.
6 people. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna do another couple firings on my own for the rest of the year before we close out 2024, and then I'm gonna open up probably another date for a soda workshop in probably late January, maybe early February.
Yeah.
So if folks are hearing this and they're interested and wanting to come out, look out for that. Join the mailing list for sure. I mean, I'll
How much is it?
so the one that I just did was 175, but
Okay.
I still think that's underpriced, honestly, compared to some other folks that do it. I think I've heard, like Kevin's charging 250 plus, and he's not even letting them be there during the firing. He just has them come for the glazing. I think he loads it, he fires it, and then they unload it together.
Kevin's also in California. Let's be clear about that.
What does that mean?
Southern California, I mean, like everything's more expensive there.
Oh, well, yeah. I was just talking about the what you get with it. Like it's
I
mine
know,
is more
but
in depth
what
of an
I'm saying,
experience for the whole weekend than,
perspective is different, like
or maybe
Kev,
his is three. I've seen some numbers 250 to 300, I think, per
yeah.
person.
But like his perspective on pricing is a lot different than your perspective on pricing. You know, like
Hmm.
$300 to somebody in California is nothing. Like whereas 175 is a lot to somebody in Kentucky
Hmm.
typically. You know what I'm saying? Like $300 in California is literally the same price to like park your car somewhere. Like but
Yeah, so I'm kind of teetering between 175 and 200, but
yeah,
yeah, it's about 2.5 days. So
a lot of work for sure.
yeah, and then we had people stick around for the most part all day Saturday. So I did some demos in the studio. We had lunch together. We had dinner together that
Yeah.
we made. So it's pretty good. We had a good time. So
Do you feel like you're fulfilled after every single one of them? Like, do you feel like it's like a community that you like, you're a fan of?
yeah, I mean, I think the second one was an improvement on the first one, mostly because I just knew what to expect and how the timing was going to go with everything.
Yeah.
you know, you can give people a better, like, telling them what they can expect too, of like how many pieces should they bring, what type of pieces should they bring, so it's not so up in the air of like how you're gonna load the kiln with what they bring, because they could bring a bunch of different things. So yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna get better and better as we go, and I'll kind of get it down to a science. But yeah, I want to continue to get some folks that are, some people that are close, but some people that are willing to travel for it.
Yeah.
Especially if people are willing to come as a group, like two or three people together. Like that's nice because there's already some, like, people know one another. If I don't know, it feels a little weird, if not weird, but it's just a little tougher to,
Right. There's no, it's like
if
a
everybody's on their own island and they don't know one another, you kind of gotta
right.
make it happen or do what you can to make it happen. But it's gotta, it'll be what it's gonna be. You can't choose who's gonna sign up.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to more. I'll probably set some goals for 2025 of how many I want to do, just to get an idea, and then we'll see where we're at later in the year.
For sure.
But yeah, that's the main happenings over here. I got 3 more shows for the year. I got one this weekend at Queen City Clay, so getting ready
that
for doing that one this weekend. I'm looking forward to being inside. The last 2 years I straddled the 2 shows. I did the off market, which is in that park out in the plain where it's super windy and cold.
Screw that.
And I'm glad that I am not going to be out there this weekend, because previously I did that show on Saturday, because you don't technically have to be at Queen City Clay for their show.
Yeah.
You have to be there for volunteering one shift on one day, but you don't have to be there technically the whole time. So it was a lot. And obviously you sell better when you're actually there to talk to people than just an empty booth with pots on it. At least I do. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And we had our first snow today, so it's frigid. I did the first fire today in the basement,
Nice.
which is pretty comfortable.
Hey, guess how many firings I have on my plug and fire?
You got it in June?
Yeah.
So 6 months. I'm gonna guess 45.
Guess again.
You gonna tell me higher or lower?
Oh, higher.
58.
60.
60? Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Pretty wild. Also, I got the brand new the new casters for the plug and fire, and it's like they're so cool, they're pressure fitted, so they so even though I put the kiln back in the car every time, I have to take the casters out because of the way that I stack it inside of each other. But they're so easy to slip on and off because they're pressure fitted, so they just kind of like slip right over the stand's little feet, and they just like come right off and they come right back on, and they are so stinking smooth. Holy crap. Literally life-changing, those little casters. I think
Nice.
that you need casters and potentially the tall stand.
Yeah, I need to figure out in the winter what we're gonna do with it, if we're gonna move it or not.
Yeah, because like even the tall stand, they pack it in like a flat pack situation, so you get it all flat. And so I can't imagine how like nice it is to ship that instead of a kiln. But
I saw a couple people got those. I don't know if Hope got it. Somebody just recently got, or maybe it was Kenny. Somebody
Yeah.
recently got one of the, I don't know if it was a couple of the things, but I think they got the tall. I saw somebody that got the tall stand,
Yeah.
because it had the monitor mounted, or maybe it
Yeah.
was Hope that had the wall mount, is what I saw, I think.
Yeah, it's so nice, so stinking nice. And like just that whole system, like the fact that it can ship through like UPS and you don't have to. I don't know if I told you this, but when I got the plug and fire, I'm pretty sure that the FedEx driver kicked it out of the van.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, like
Hope not.
it quite literally rolled out of the van, both boxes. And it was fine. Once it got to me, it was fine. Like they do when I was at L&L, they showed me how they did the well, they didn't show me, but they do that foam forming
Mhm.
stuff,
Yeah.
so they have like a mold, and they put it in and they put the foam into the plastic bag and it forms around what they need. And it's like perfect. But I mean, like they said that they're trying to work on like obviously they are very conscious of the earth, like as far as, you know, they have solar, they have and just all those things. And so they're trying to get to I think they're trying to get to mostly like 100% recyclable um in the future, but super nice. You should next week you should tell me how many firings you've had in your L&L.
I'll have to find out how to get to that, but
I'll tell you. It's pretty.
Okay.
You just look at your like you literally just go to like the media and look at your last firing, and it'll show you in that
Oh,
setting.
like review program or
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So yeah.
okay.
So, as far as the new stuff that L&L has, they have the stand, they have the wall mount, and then they have the new casters. And you don't need a new stand for the casters. They go onto the old stand, which is really nice. And where can they find this, Ryan?
Hotkilns.com.
Hotkilns.com. Did you see how smooth that transition was?
That was very smooth.
It was smooth. It caught
Super
Ryan
smooth.
by surprise. Yeah, and just so you know, because Cheryl's asking me, they cost $1,600 ish. I don't know what the last two digits of that 1,600 is, but worth it in my opinion. Very much worth it because you can plug it into an apartment plug. You can plug
Yeah.
into
15 amp.
like a regular plug, like a 15 amp plug.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's cone 10. Boom.
Yeah. I was gonna look at the accessories and see what some of those costs were because
Oh yeah, you can tell us
curious.
that.
All right, they got the casters. Oh, rolling stand. Kind of looks like the stand is separate. Maybe the casters are cheaper, but it says the stand for rolling stand for a plug and fire is 100.
Oh
It
yeah.
looks
I
like
think
it's kind of included, but there's
let's
probably
say if you already bought the stand, I'm pretty sure you can buy the casters by themselves.
okay, those are probably cheaper.
I'm not sure.
And then the tall stand for plug and fire, $385.
Yeah.
Because it's got to be heat resistant. It's it's
And
actually
it's
like
sturdy.
cut.
Like I thought it would be kind of flimsy. It is not. It is stinking sturdy. So
And then the wall mount is 75.
mhm.
Yeah. I mean, these are all metal fabricated. I mean, it's the same stuff that they make the control box out of and stuff like that. So heavy duty metal. I mean, it kind of reminds us of when we were talking
Bluebird.
with Bluebird and all the manufacturing that goes into that metal. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like we were asking him like if he could make banding wheels, and he was like, not as cheap as Shimpo. Like he's like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't try. Wouldn't even try.
Okay, do we want to do a listener question?
Yes.
All right, so we got a quick one to start. It is from ceramics_by Margaret on Instagram. So we did a little question box and folks sent us a bunch or put comments in our post. So thanks for sending those. The question is, what is your favorite thing to make and why? My favorite thing to make right now is shot glasses. I still love to make those. People ask me that every now and then, and it's still that. I just love the quick and easy process of throwing off the hump. And yeah, it's pretty, it's just like a nice period of time to just, just work on it. And you just work until there's no more clay on the wheel and you end up with 20 or 30 shot glasses.
Yeah, perfect. My favorite thing to make is in the same vein, and it's pinch pots. Like it's
The thrown pinch pots.
yeah, the thrown pinch pots. They're not my favorite thing to trim though. They are my favorite thing to make, but they're
Mm.
not my favorite thing to finish. But yep, thrown pinch pots definitely because I love throwing off the hump. I love getting like 75 out of a batch. It's just great.
You pretty much throw. Were you pretty much throwing the whole 25-pound bag, right?
Yeah.
I have yet to throw that much with my shot glasses. I mean, I typically do it with reclaim, so I'm not generally going to have 25 pounds of reclaim. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's smart to do it with your reclaim.
Yeah, I mean, it's the safest item to make with reclaim because the other option would be spoon rests, but sometimes the clay can be in and out of dryness and, I'm a
Yep.
little bit more forgiving of if the piece comes out a little wonky with a shot glass because when you're making, like, I think I made 1,500 shot glasses last year.
Yeah.
You don't care about wonkiness with 15 to 20 of them or 50 of them. Like, who cares?
I care. But other than that,
They don't have to be exact sizes.
yeah, they don't have to be
Exactly. I mean, I'm getting better about the sizes. Generally, they are 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces, but when I'm packing them, I'm shipping a bunch now because the Etsy shop is going crazy with the shot glass orders. And I do have to pick and choose. Sometimes when people get 4 of them, I do try to make sure they're similar size because I don't want it to be glaringly different. And then they're gonna you try to sneak that by, and that one person's gonna be like, I got one that's very small. Can I exchange this or do something about it? And that,
Yeah, you're like, yeah, the other ones were bonuses. That one is actually the right size.
yeah. I had an Etsy story today. There was a person that uh messaged me and wanted to return a mug because it was 14 ounces up to the rim without her being able to move it without taking a sip out of it. And she said generally mugs that are 14 ounces still leave about a half an inch at the top. So generally they want it to hold like 15 to 16 ounces and they don't list it.
Science would dictate that 14 ounces is 14 to the rim.
Exactly. That's what I think too. But so we'll see what she says. I basically was telling her my refund policy of you can buy another one if you want. Let me know which one, and I'll tell you the actual ounces up to the rim and see if that fits what you want. But if you want to return this, you're gonna have to pay for the shipping cost back, and I'll send you a refund when it's all back in the same condition. So it was also a 20% off mug. And then she was kind of like, her last thing was talking about, a lot of places like it when you can have a little bit of extra space. It was basically talking about the 14 ounce with a little bit of space, but I'm like, okay, I mean, whatever.
Like, I drink tea. I don't need the extra space, so.
Well, she was saying like I have a Keurig and it dispenses 14 ounces, and a lot of people want to have extra space for their stuff. I'm like, thinking in my head, I'm like, I think you're just picky about what you want. I don't think everybody's as picky as what you want.
You
Or they
should
can just ask.
You can say that I'll send you a straw. I ship straws free of charge.
Yeah.
It'll be plastic, but it'll get there in one piece.
So we'll see what she decides to do, but and also the thing that she asked first, she messaged me before she bought it, was how big is it? From how tall is it, including the rim. She didn't ask anything about the volume. She just asked about the height and width and stuff. I gave her all those, and then she ordered it immediately. I figured because she was trying to see if it would fit under a Keurig or something.
Mhm.
And then she talked about the ounces. So, whew.
Well, height and width has nothing to do with volume as far as a handmade item is concerned.
Well, I assume she was under the assumption that you get something that says 14 ounces, it's going to have a space for 15 to 16. That's the way
No.
that she expects you to buy items,
That makes me mad.
Well, it is what it is. I did my best customer service I could. So we'll see what she decides to do. But she was very complimentary on the mug. Otherwise, she was just, picky about the volume. I mean, I don't want to just be like, hey, you got to keep it or you got to send it back to me and get nothing and I'll refund you. But like, yeah, do what you want to do. But I don't want to be like, sorry,
You're nothing but politically correct.
you read it wrong. Like, what am I going to say?
No, you
That-
probably did it perfectly.
Yeah, I mean,
You handled it better than I would.
so what would you have said?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
14 ounces. I probably would have been nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we
so-
shall see.
let's talk about our topic because I'm actually kind of excited about this.
All right. This came in as well. Ooh, man, I did not write down who said this. I think it's on our comments. You want to go ahead and read it and I'll find the comment?
Yeah, I'll read it while you're looking.
Okay.
Okay. So the topic that we have today is called Worth It or Not Worth It. And it says, talk about things you've tried, in parentheses, it says tools, techniques, business practices, whatever, and whether or not you felt that that thing was worth it. So we have a list of things thanks to Ryan because I misinterpreted the question. Actually, no, it's not that I misinterpreted the question. I misinterpreted what Ryan wanted me to do with the question. And so I have my list in my head and he has it written on paper. But it's pretty much the same.
Yeah, this question came from Revisionist Studio. We had Carolyn on the podcast before.
What?
Yeah. She's not too far from where you're at, I think. I think she's in where was she? She's in
Yeah, she's in North
she's
Carolina.
near Charleston, yeah. In Georgia, I think.
I think she's in North Carolina.
Yeah, she's not too far. But yeah, that was a good one. So it's talk about things you tried. So what were you interpreting? What you thought?
I was just thinking about like more life experiences as opposed to like actual items. And I just didn't think of it as like a straight list like this, which makes sense. It just
Yeah. Well,
it.
I think these were jumping off points for me. I put these as bullet points, and then we can expand on whether this was worth it or not worth it, because these related to each of us. What was in a life experience one that you thought of?
Immediately, it was like if I would have a community studio again, and or like what part of that was worth it and what part wasn't, as far as like the future is concerned, or what I would do.
Yeah. What do you think?
I would definitely do the paint your own pottery again. I don't think I would do anything else.
Was that just because the profit margin and the effort involved is just...
It's just funner. It's just like you don't have to like get into the dirty of it, It's like almost an instant satisfaction situation. People leave almost always with joy. And like when you're doing classes, that is not the case. There's always one person that's like, I can't figure this out and I'm frustrated. Typically there's a lot of joy, but a lot of the times there's that one person that kind of like makes you feel sad because you can't get through. Maybe you don't have the right words or they don't have the right ears for what you're saying. And yeah. So I think that's one of the things. But I would love to talk about like the simple stuff first. Like we should talk about the tools, not the tools, but like the equipment. I think that equipment would be a fun category to have.
Okay.
Daryl might chime in because I know some of these equipment.
One last thing on the community studio. I would also suspect if you're in the industry, folks feel like it's probably not frowned upon, but you feel less taken seriously if you do paint a pot over doing like a
Oh,
teaching studio. Because if you're like, oh, you own a paint a pot, like how much experience do you need to run a paint a pot? You know what I'm saying? But it's also like you're deciding what that level of how much you want to take on and how much you don't want to
right.
take on
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
and
mean,
what audience you're appealing to. Like there's probably a broader audience for somebody to just come in and paint a pot than for
right.
somebody to commit to a 6 week or 8 week class. And
Exactly. And like, I mean, I don't think that the classes are bad. I maybe would own a studio if I didn't have to teach all the classes, but the paint your own pot, like I remember when going into pottery, like doing the studio, I was like, I'm never gonna do paint your own pot. Like that's so terrible. And then I started with doing it just from stuff that I made. And then the first order of China made stuff came in, and I was like, this stuff is the shit. Like it's so
Mhm.
fun, it's so cute, it's so satisfying. Like, and my whole perspective on paint your own pottery completely flipped. Do I think that it's a viable like pottery business as far as like, am I gonna go paint your own pot and sell stuff that I didn't make but then only painted? No. Do I judge people that do that? Also no. Uh but like, do I think it's fun as shit and I would totally go there on a single myself date
Mhm.
or a date with somebody else like a friend or whatever? Absolutely. If you haven't
Mhm.
had to paint your own pottery in the past 10 years and you're judging it, you need to go back and just try
Yeah.
it.
I
So
get a little stuck when I go there because I'm like, I don't know what to paint on here. I'm too like exact, and my imagination is not broad enough
I think that that's the
to
fun
just
thing.
have fun with it. It's more forceful, and I feel it's very uncomfortable. But
Yeah, I mean, like you can get a fish or a gnome or whatever, and that takes half of the creativity out of it. So you can just make whatever, like just paint certain colors, like make the hat green. You know,
right,
that's what's so great about it is that you don't have to paint a mug. You can paint
right,
something that has half of the work done for you, you know? And so
yeah,
that's what I like about it. It is appealing to everybody. I love the idea of being able to it's like it's fun to like do things for nonprofit organizations and stuff, like if you wanted to, like one time I had um no one time I had a bunch of like young moms come in and paint pots, and like I was able to just be like, yeah, it's on me. You know, I wouldn't be able to do that if I was teaching a class. Like,
right,
oh yeah, the things that they painted were what, $1.50 for me to buy. Yeah, they're fine. You know?
yeah. The only stink I have with pottery studios, like paint your own pot, is when I'm like traveling somewhere and I search on Google for pottery studio and I expect to see a pottery studio, like a making studio, and I see paint your own pot. That's the only bummer. But it's like
That's fair.
that has nothing to do with their fault. It's just I'm expecting to see a working pottery studio, and that's also pottery. It's just appealing to the widest audience. Like it's just not for me. But like there's plenty of people that are looking for the paint your own pot, and that's, what they can handle. So all right, so you want to do equipment? Let's go to pug mill or slab roller.
I
I
feel
have
like
had neither of these, so this is mostly going to be on you for whether you think it's worth it or not.
if you, I say, if you haven't had it, you should say why you've never gotten it. And I think that's a good, that should be added into the equation.
Hmm.
So I'll say why I do or don't like a pug mill and slab roller. Okay, slab roller for me is an absolute yes, worth it. What about you, Cheryl?
Both, yes.
Yes. Cheryl says yes for pug mill too. Um, so Cheryl's being added into this podcast just now. And
She also has folks coming to her location, right? Her
yeah,
studio or her business. It's not just her.
Bought my pug mill way before I had students.
okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
So you think about a pug mill, I'm all right, I'm 61, I have wrist issues.
Hmm.
I got my hand caught in a Ringer washing machine when I was like 3 years old. So I have some damage in my bones.
Hmm.
But I figured if I bought it at any point, I could sell it and never lose money.
That's true.
But I'm taking care of my body.
Yeah.
Right.
Kills your wrists.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. But then there's the potters like you who don't actually wedge. They just kind of like ball up and deal with it.
Yeah, I also pay somebody to prep the clay, so I'm not worried about the consistency. I can see the benefit of pugging out clay and you measure it and it's always consistent with the logs.
I think that
The de-airing.
yeah, the de-airing is nice. I think that I would say worth it with a caveat. I would buy a different one than the one that I had. Do you have a Peter Pugger?
I have a Peter Pugger.
Yeah, I had a Peter Pugger, hated it. So,
I still mix my clay
yeah.
fully wet, so it's smooth. And then I still lay it out to dry, but it's the wedging
Yeah.
and the de-airing that I
Yeah.
love.
So,
And mine is stainless steel.
right, and hers is stainless steel.
Wait, you're talking about for reclaiming like slop is what you're saying? You're not laying out new bags of clay, right?
Right. I
Yeah,
never
are you still throwing new bags of clay into the pug mill before you even use it?
See, when I had my pug
What
mill,
was that answer? I couldn't hear it.
no.
No, okay.
When I had my pug mill, I was power wedging. So I would throw a new bag of clay into it, add water or slop to make it softer, and then pug it out. So in that regard, for my own personal work, I would say yes. If I
Okay.
had a community studio, I wouldn't do a Peter Pugger. I'd probably do a Shimpo or a Bluebird. Bluebird or Shimpo.
But Bluebird doesn't de-air though, right?
Yeah, they do.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, they do. And he's working on those pug mills. He's going to make a micro pug mill.
He's amazing.
Yeah, he is really amazing. Okay, slab roller, absolutely 155,000% yes for me. And worth it 100%.
I would
And
say the two caveats for each of those that most people think are the space it takes up and the price, right?
Yeah.
The price for sure for the pug mill.
well, and the
This-
pug mill, like she said, it never loses its value. You have to remember that. So if you buy it and you don't want it anymore, you can get rid of it. Like I know that Isaac Shoe never used his pug mill, so he sold it, but he didn't lose any money on it.
Right. Actually, I bought mine at 2,600. It's now 5,200.
Yeah.
The same.
That's a good price.
Yeah. So yeah. So I
But
probably
it is putting out a lot of money at once.
right. I wouldn't
Yeah.
buy a Peter Pugger, but I would buy almost all the other Puggers.
Is that like is that like a middle of your pottery career purchase? You feel like, or like it's not an early on purchase.
I think it depends on what stage you are in your life. If you have arthritis, it's a whatever.
And I had already run a studio in Illinois, so I mean, I knew already what I was getting into.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Maybe mid. I wouldn't buy a pug mill right out the gate. Absolutely not.
I would probably buy a better, like a good quality. Would you buy like a good quality kiln before you'd buy a pug mill?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's only a few big investments like that. The wheel, like a really good wheel, a kiln, a pug mill. A slab roller is kind of like a middle investment, I feel like.
Well, slab roller is a really niche investment, like,
You do a lot of hand building.
right. If you do hand building and throwing, a slab roller is almost necessary. If you do only hand building, obviously it's necessary. But if you only do throwing like you do, it's not that necessary. You
Mhm.
know, like you've never needed a slab roller.
Right. I would have to add items to my inventory if I were to slab roll. There's nothing that I'm like, ooh, if I had a slab roller, I could improve this process that I'm doing already.
Right. But I love having a slab roller. I like having a full size slab roller. The baby size slab roller, I have the small Shimpo portable slab roller. While I like it, it does have all the same issues that every other portable slab roller has, which is rolling the slab.
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes it just doesn't grab as much because there's not as much weight applied, so
Oh,
runs it through. So, but every single small slab roller is going to have that issue. That's not just one thing specifically. But
okay.
a big one, I think if you have a studio, a community studio, a slab roller is essential and worth it. And like if space is an issue, the high roller is definitely worth it.
But you can store underneath it.
Yep.
I mean, it does offer, like, all my buckets go under there, and
Yeah, I mean, like you can use
It's
it
a
as,
work table. You just gotta don't make it so cumbersome to use it when you need it.
right. It can't be a desk, but it can be a work table for sure. I've
Yeah.
never like, it's funny that most people that have slab rollers always use them as like a desk or whatever. Like
Or
they
like I can see it as like a packing and shipping area for a lot of people.
like it collects dust or not dust, but junk. And I've never had that issue ever. But also, I think that it's because I've used it so often when I had it. So definitely worth it.
And it sounds like if you have the space, like go full size, don't go tabletop.
Yeah. Yeah. Full size is definitely better. I would say, um, if you have the money, go for the ones that you don't have to adjust both sides. Go for the one that you can, when you adjust one side, adjust both. The Shimpo ones are great, but they can wear down.
what's the big giant one that, like, you can put a clay slab or chunk this big and it'll
That's a
roll it.
Brent. They have a Brent extra long.
I don't even know if they have that anymore.
I don't think so. The thing that I don't like about Brents is that the way to make shorter or like thinner or longer is you have to add boards to the bottom, and I hate that.
Even the new, I know there's some older ones I've seen, like Baker Hunt had old one like that,
Yeah.
but I don't know if
I
that is
don't
that pretty standard still
I don't know.
instead
But
of doing the adjustment with the knob.
but the but yeah, I like the North Star is fine. That's like your cheaper option. The high roller is going to be your most expensive option, which in my opinion is the best option, but it's also, well, it depends on what you do, but it's also the most expensive option. So, high roller is not great if you, well, it's not bad if you do small stuff, but it can feel like a waste.
You still have to move it to another surface.
Yeah, you
I
still
mean,
have
if
to.
I'm working by myself, I can still work on the surface
Yeah.
that I just rolled on.
Exactly. Like that's the thing. If you don't have a ton of space and you want the slab roller to be a working surface, then the flat slab roller is beneficial.
Okay, I have another one that's kind of related to the pug mill we were just talking about. Recycling clay.
Garbage.
I have a hard time throwing things away.
Well, you are
too.
of age,
I do too. I do too, Cheryl.
Ryan.
I want to use every little bit. I don't produce a lot of scraps, but I can, if I can manage it within a 5 gallon bucket, I'm happy with that. It's not so cumbersome and hard to maintain and keep up with that. If I can't maintain a 5 gallon bucket, then you know,
That's probably 8 right now.
Yeah, see, that's not okay.
I
you
adopt-
also have other students there. It's just myself, and I making the work. So I'm
think
not
that-
producing a ton of scrap.
I moved Cheryl closer to the computer, so hopefully she's
okay.
louder. I think that I mean like all of the clay scraps, I think that it depends on how much clay scraps you have in ratio to what you're making.
Well, if you have a hand building class, they leave the clay out. Like, you can't-
Exactly.
there's way too much clay to not recycle.
Yes, I agree. And so like my workshops that I've been doing, I had like one bag of clay and I've like gone through most of it, but the amount of clay scraps that have been left has been like a whole bag of clay. Like and so I feel like they've used maybe 1/8 of the actual clay. And so I like slaked it all down and put it into two-gallon buckets and did recycle it. And it worked great because it was like a one night situation, put it on a plasterboard and the next morning it was fine. But I but if I was doing throwing and there was just like it would be tough for me.
I don't have the kind of waste with throwing that I do with hand building.
Which is
Yeah,
so
I feel
much
like you're
more
only
than
producing.
throwing waste.
I mean, I keep a scrap bucket that I throw with, and besides my water bucket, I have a scrap bucket, and that scrap bucket can go right into the recycling bucket that's already slaked down, and that just gets mixed with a paint mixer.
Yeah.
So
Here's what I think. Recycling is good to a point, but if you never take care of it, then you shouldn't be doing it. So like if you have 15 buckets of clay, by the way, I can deal with that recycling this week. If that'll be my payment. If you have 15 buckets of clay, that's not okay. Like you need to start working on it or you need to start throwing it away.
or donate it. Like have somebody come pick it up.
A good point. I mean, I
Just
adopted.
say bring me an empty 5-gallon bucket and you can take a bucket with you.
Exactly. Like switch out the bucket. Like tons of people will take that clay or make a goddamn pizza oven. Like do something.
I actually use it a lot for making cookies for firing in the kiln.
Oh yeah.
Especially you're firing a big Christmas tree. It's really nice to have something to stand it on
Yeah.
while they're making it.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, is most of that clay you're using in parts to do your pug mill? I mean, I suspect or is it just buckets and buckets of dried out clay that's not
Well,
wet
it's
enough to mix
right.
with the pug mill?
that I've already added water to, but
Yeah.
it depends. Like I adopted a bunch of clay because one of my friends was getting rid of his studio. I was like, "Sure, I'll take it."
Not know getting into.
Yeah, in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, dump it in the woods.
Yeah. Dump it in the woods. Somebody will use it out there. What about also I think that recycling makes sense if you have a place to put the finished recycled clay. So like I used to have a refrigerator that I put all of my clay in because it's got a good seal on it. So it never got
I have those rubber gasket totes.
Yep, a rubber gasket tote, something that like you have to be able to put the clay somewhere once it's recycled. So I mean
I
the
just use cat litter buckets.
space. Yeah. What about a clay extruder?
A clay.
Ooh,
Clay extruder.
You mean the
I've
one?
never owned one, so I don't know. I could not see. I mean, I'm not a hand builder. Also, I couldn't see myself using one.
I could
I
not.
have used mine maybe twice. I bought it because they made me buy it with my slab roller.
Okay.
I wanted the slab roller. I was like, sure, I'll take it. I don't go with it. I put it on the wall. I have used it probably twice. I absolutely hate it.
Which one is it?
It's not a giant one. I've made my own dies for it and stuff.
Is it a handy dandy clay extruder?
No, but my Scott Creek hand one, I absolutely love.
Right. Scott Creek is made out of Tacoma and those ones are great.
And the Shimpo one is just like it.
I have the
And they're
China version of that. And
Okay.
it was like $28 and it's great.
But I started with just a homemade one
Yeah.
with a caulk gun and
Yeah.
PVC tubes.
Yeah. So I think that it definitely depends on like if you're extruding handles, a clay extruder is absolutely necessary.
Or
Like,
even hand building to make ropes for
Yeah.
a class, you know?
yeah.
Yeah,
make
coil
coils.
building, or we used it a lot in college when we were making test tiles. So we would extrude out, a square.
Yeah.
And we just cut the test tiles. So we had a bunch of. So if you're
Yeah.
testing a lot of glazes, I suspect that would be good for that.
Yeah, if you are
You
a
could
big
throw a ring on the wheel.
Yeah, but you can extrude those test tiles so much faster.
Yeah, I could extrude and cut,
No,
you
don't.
could do like 90 test tiles in an hour or something.
Bag.
Yeah, here's the thing that Cheryl's not talking about is that you can use a plastic bag in extruders and you never have to clean it ever again. So, because it'll just poke a hole through the plastic bag and then you just take it out of the plastic bag when it's done and recycle it. But
Or you just you take the dye out and everything and just let it dry out, and then you can just let everything fall out of it into.
that's really messy.
You
The
can,
plas-
but it always come out.
Yeah.
So you know how it sticks in your pan if it dries? It doesn't release. It'll hold on.
Yeah. But
Oh,
okay,
it doesn't shrink away from the metal.
It's not great, believe me.
I
Oh,
think
okay.
here's-
That's me not knowing because I don't use it. So there we
here's
go.
what I think for extruder. Worth it if like a wall extruder is worth it if you extrude things. And if you're not but if you like have never had an extruder and you're like, I think I should get an extruder, you don't need one. Like
I mean,
you
a
just
lot of people, you could, if you have a pug mill, you can attach it and kind of use that as an extruder in a way. If you,
well, yeah, and the hand extruder is good enough. I think that that's the main takeaway.
right. I mean, there's some potters on Instagram. I see she makes a lot of hand built things and she has dies and all this stuff calculated out and she extrudes and
Yeah, she does the pillboxes.
the
Oh,
pillboxes and I think she does little iPhone stands or something like that. She does a lot of, they're very intricate and she paints on them a lot or does slip trailing on them a lot.
You can build a whole business out of an extruder if you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, hinges and I mean, there's some really cool extruded forms, but
Yeah.
you'd have to create a line to use that then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other what about really
At,
expensive wheels?
I've never owned a really expensive wheel, but I
Not worth
suspect it will be worth it if you're talking for your lifetime wheel, you know. It's gonna
Yeah,
pay for itself and it's gonna be
but I feel like you've had your wheels for years and you haven't needed it. I mean, me and Cheryl both have a new Soldner, so
wait,
I
okay. Do you consider a Brent like the Brent that I have? Like those I mean those aren't cheap. Those are like $1,000+ for a new one.
yeah, but how much did you pay for it?
I paid 900 for the Brent C.
Maybe we should say this. Is a new wheel worth it?
I don't think so,
I don't think so either.
except if it's a solder.
And
I think
I
that
suspect a lot of folks that have Soldners don't let go of those. So
no.
good luck finding a used one.
And if they do come on the market, I know there's one person in particular that pretty much buys every single one.
Yeah.
Does you just
That's
have
why
a warehouse of
I
wheels?
went on the market and I found somebody that wanted it before.
You sold a solder?
I did. I sold my old Soldner. It's to one of my friends who I knew would love it dearly.
Oh, that's
You know?
awesome.
Yeah, I mean like the one with the wooden foot pedal. Like I sold a antique Soldner.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, but it's okay because those things are meant to, if somebody else can have a good life with a wheel that you've also had a good life with, then that's worth it. Plus I have a P200. I don't need two wheels.
I have
You know?
4 now, but I'm
Well, you don't live in a van. You live in a house, so like
plus you
And
have a little travel one too.
yeah, I have two wheels. I'd have no need for two wheels.
You could
I
use-
suspect also the I mean the technology of wheels these days. If you buy a new, it's not like buying a new iPhone. It's not like you're spending all this money for a new product that's going to be outdated in a year. It's like these things last decades if
Yeah.
they're that quality that you're buying. So, you know, they're going to hold their life. Do they hold their value just as much as, you know, the pug mill you're talking about for the most part?
Yeah. I think that if you can buy any piece of equipment that you own used, you're doing better
yeah, that-
than the majority.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What other equipment is there? Oh, kilns. Kilns. Brand new. I think that I also think, I mean, I guess we're kind of changing it, but we all think a kiln is worth it, obviously. But I think that this is a good one to say, is it worth it to buy it new or is it worth it to buy it used?
I'd say new and 3 separate control thermocouples
Okay.
because I only have one thermocouple and
Sounds like L&L to me.
I have 2 zone. I know I have 2 zones that the one above is a half cone hotter and the bottom is a half cone lower.
Okay.
So I'm constantly dealing with what am I going to put on this level?
Yeah.
Leave
That
this-
sounds like my old kiln I had before the new L&L.
Yeah. So I would say, I mean, I like new kilns, but I don't think if you can find a good used one, I don't fire so I mean like I just figured out how hot my actual plug and fire went to, like 60 firings in. So I'm not so particular. So I think a used one is more worth it than a new one if it's your first kiln.
Yeah, I was gonna say no first kiln. I wouldn't recommend a new kiln for your first kiln. If
Yeah, if it's your
that's
fifth kiln,
Yeah, and I had already been using kilns prior
Right.
to that, but
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I would say.
I mean, because a lot of folks that are getting their first kiln, they're still figuring out how much capacity they need to produce. What's like, some used kiln gums on the market, and it's like, oh, like, do I need to buy this? It's like this large, huge kiln, and they're spending, you know,
it's a good
$600 or whatever.
reach the lot.
Oh yeah. As two people that are below 5'2",
Height deficient.
yeah, two vertically challenged human beings, it is worth it to buy a kiln that you can reach the bottom of.
Mhm.
Also, I'm talking to individual potters, it is never worth it to buy an oval kiln.
Oh no.
I just want everybody to know that. It is 100% never worth it to buy an
You
oval
need an
kiln.
80 amp breaker too.
Yeah. You have to have an 80 amp and it has to be hardwired in. If you have a community studio, fine. But an oval kiln for a single human being is not okay unless you are making 17,000 pots a year.
Or like massive
Massive, obviously.
sculptures or something.
Even then, do a front
Even
load.
then, how do you get it into it safely?
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to
Like
do
you
front-
gotta like front load it into a gas kiln or something.
I mean, you gotta take the rings off, but how do you take the rings off when you're
right.
a single potter?
It's so massive, yeah.
Yeah, it does not matter if that oval kiln is $200. It is not fucking worth it. Okay? Just
Can you like load up the sides or something with a bunch of furniture and then only fire the middle?
you probably could, but it's so expensive.
Yeah.
So expensive.
Yeah. I mean, I would suspect even studios that have students, like how many students would you need to actually make that worth it? I suspect having two 7 cubic foot or two 10 cubic foot kilns or a 7 and a 10 would make more sense than having one oval kiln, right?
Yeah.
I think absolutely.
Or, I mean, they would probably already have more than just the oval kiln, but
Interchangeable. And
Well, yeah, but if you can, like, so I used to have an oval kiln, and the only reason I got it was because it was a second, but it did turn out to be a good investment for me. But I used to have an oval kiln and a 10 cubic foot kiln, and the shelves were interchangeable. So if you did get an oval kiln, which we're not recommended, then you need to make sure that your other kiln is the same size. But yeah, I sold it to this lady who is like a hobby potter, and it took every bone in my body not to be like, do not buy this kiln. But I needed to sell it, so I regret that. That's probably the only sale that I've ever regretted. Okay. Do you have any more studio equipment? I feel like
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know enough about, I mean, this is more just broad studio in general. Well, I guess it's so circumstantial. I mean, is it worth it to rent a studio space or to have your own studio space that you
Oh yeah.
like? I've never rented. I've never wanted to rent, but you know, paying somebody else to rent the studio space or dealing with a warehouse and having your studio somewhere that you rent from versus having your own separate space, whether it's in your home or a building that's separate or
Yeah.
building your own at your home.
Okay, sure, I'll go.
one of my studio members, he was here for about a year and a half, but she built her own studio in a like warehouse space. But it has a garage door. She can still store a car in there.
Yeah.
So I mean, she and her husband are using it for other things as well.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing for them was her husband likes to come join her, and he didn't feel comfortable doing that here.
Yeah.
And they want to stain a piece of furniture, they could still do it there.
Yeah. I think that the biggest thing for if it's worth it to do a studio space versus having your own, like renting a space versus having your own, is quite literal space. Like, do you have the space? And also how much of a community do you need? That's the biggest thing, I think.
And maybe visit the studio first, because there's
Yeah.
such a varying level of healthy environments to be in,
Right.
or non-healthy.
Yeah,
Can
we
you
were
know that just from walking taking
yes,
the rounds, or
I think so.
I think so.
If you're
Yeah.
if you're perceptive enough, you can pick up on something quickly.
is that also like meeting with staffs there or something instead of just walking around when they're open.
Yeah,
Just
or-
actually talking with somebody about, hey, what do you offer? And like,
take a class.
Yeah.
Yeah, take a class
Because you
first.
can hear the catty things. You can even the way they write a note on the wall. You
Yeah.
know, don't do this.
If they actually greet you at the door, like, you
Yeah.
know, there's little things that you can pick up on. But also, yeah, every single studio has a different vibe too. We were talking about this today in Savannah. They were like, there's like 4 studios, but every single one is different, you know? So you really have to pick your own, like, you have to pick what fits for you.
hmm rather than just, is it closest to my house?
Right.
Because if it's
Exactly.
closest to your house, but you're not going to enjoy being there, then
or they might limit how much you're allowed to make while you're there, because they want
right.
a studio, but they don't want you to use it as a production studio.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mhm.
Oh, I have another one that we should talk about, which is mixing your own glazes. But before we talk about that, we should talk about Speedball because
Mhm. They
uh,
have some mid-fire glazes. I think they're coming out with some new ones too.
Glaze color they have.
you did?
I did almost all.
Oh, Cheryl just bought all the colors. I'm gonna have to test them out.
So excited.
You know what I found out that is
You bought the glazes or you bought the underglazes?
you know what I found out that's a really fun like little tidbit that I'm learning is that well with the jewelry, if you're doing anything flat, I would not say flat and functional, but flat. I fired their low fire clear to cone 5 and it did beautifully. The colors look phenomenal. It's shiny. It's gorgeous. And I would say that you have to water it down significantly. Maybe take like a little bit out and add more water. What I'm learning is that the thinner your glaze is, the better. The thinner your underglaze, your clear glaze is, the better it acts on top of the glaze. So, if it's thicker, then it
On
will.
top of the underglaze or on top of the clay? You said on top of the glaze, but
Yeah, sorry, on top of the underglaze. But yeah, the Speedball low fire clear, if you water it down significantly, is absolutely beautiful at cone 5.
I think any clear needs to be thin anyway.
Oh, so thin. Yeah, like what I kind of love about Speedball is that they always give you the thicker version. Up until the new underglazes, they always give you like the thicker version of what you need so you can put as much water as you want. But you're getting like way more product that way. Like everybody, their underglazes come in 16-ounce bottles. Those bottles are 20-ounce bottles and they put 16 ounces of liquid in them. And you can add as much water as you want, you know?
Mhm.
But yeah, the colors look really great. And also I'm kind of have you used any of the mid-fire glazes yet?
I actually just had a customer ask for, she saw a shot glass on one of my listings and was like, I would like to get a mug for my daughter. Do you have that color? And I actually was willing to glaze a mug in that. So I actually just used a couple of their mid-range glazes on a mug. I saw it in the kiln. It looked really good. So
Yeah. And oh, for anybody wondering, I did not get that position we talked about last week, but it's okay.
damn.
I know, but it's good. It's all good things. So, yeah. So, but yeah, I especially after visiting the Speedball like facility, the whole process is so much cooler to me now. Like I think that we think about Speedball ceramics as such a big part of the ceramic, like it's getting bigger in the ceramics community. And what's funny to me is that the ceramics part of Speedball is the smallest part of their company.
I know, like printing is huge.
Printing is huge for them. They have a dry papers, like everything. And
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
just
the print makings and the inks and everything has been
so, and like to them, the ceramics part is just growing and it's getting, it's just getting bigger. But to us, it's still pretty big,
Mhm.
So yeah. Yay, Speedball, we love you.
Well, plus they're going out of their way to make it right,
Yeah.
for the user.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they could just be like, hey,
Yeah.
this is how it is. Sorry.
No, and also another point to them is that their chemist is obsessed with ceramics. Like, so Scott, their chemist, I don't know if he had done any ceramics beforehand, but he is obsessed. He like, I walked into his office, he has like probably 100 test tiles on the floor. Like he stays after work to try new things out. So like he wants to make these cool things, and I have no doubt that in the future Speedball will have weird stuff that we never thought would happen from them, for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
a crucial position for them.
So where can you find the Speedball stuff?
Speedballart.com.
Remember my song?
Yeah, I was gonna let you sing it this time. I did it last time.
SPEEDBALL Speedball. I didn't sing them that song when I was doing the tour. I should have.
Oh yeah, you should have.
You might know this because your kids are my age. But my mom, that was a camp song. So the Speedball like jingle that I just did came from the camp song that it goes LOLLIPOP spells lollipop, lollipop. It's the only decent kind of candy, candy. The guy that made it must have been a dandy, a dandy. LOLLIPOPUC. It's something on a stick and it's bound to make you sick. It's lollipop for me.
Did you
So
know that, Cheryl? Had you heard that before?
I've not heard that song. No.
I have not either. So I never went to camp like that, but
Scout leader, but some of the songs we did, I wouldn't sing on here.
oh
that's the around the campfire songs, huh?
yeah, but also not appropriate now.
Well, some of them are funny.
Yeah. But listen, it was a different time.
We'll have to say that for. Are you going to Claycon West, Cheryl?
I'm going to be a presenter.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Okay. So we'll see you there. Becca, you're going there now, I suspect, right?
Yeah.
So I
think
make my own silicone putty. A lot cheaper than like the kits you buy. Because
Mhm.
I use a lot of other forms of art using silicone. So that's what I'm going to be presenting because it's a fun, inexpensive way of making your own forms from whatever.
Would you like to practice your presentation
When?
this week?
For you? Sure.
Yes.
I was like, don't do it on the podcast. You're going to give away all the secrets, and then people won't have an incentive to go to Claycon West.
Do a carving one. I just need to be more brave.
I know. Oh my gosh, Cheryl's carvings are phenomenal. Also, baby Andrew's gonna be at Claycon
You're
West.
presenting at the exact same time.
Oh no.
Yes.
Dang.
Against Andrew Kruger. That is awful.
That's rough.
I know.
That's
Someone
rough.
else is going to record him for me.
That's really rough for me too. Now I have to choose who to go to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Andrews for sure.
I'm sure that his mom will record it. So, yeah.
All right.
Um,
So since we just
she's-
did Speedball, do you want to talk about mixing your own glazes or brush on glazes? Like, what do you think there? Worth it? Not worth it? Maybe
I think-
brush on glazes is separate, but
If you were in a community studio, it's absolutely worth it to buy your own glazes.
I think it depends. I mean, if you have, there's certain go-to glazes that if you have found a nice simple one or, it's great to have those for those favorites.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I started before when I was using what is it? John.
John Hasselback.
Yeah.
Is
that
it back?
And so I still have buckets of those glazes that
Oh, wait, John Britt?
No, not John Britt. John Britt hadn't made his book yet.
Okay.
It
are
was
those
a
glazes
Bone
just
Six.
hanging around because you don't have the heart to get rid of them, or you don't know how to get rid of
No.
them?
But with students, I don't use them. Honestly, I don't want them to have 50 million options.
Yeah.
So, there's certain pieces that I still make with those glazes, but I just don't want to deal with students with those. All of a sudden it's like, oh, well, what does this one look like?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
and the
we're gonna
intricacies of, oh, well, you don't dunk this more than halfway down a pot, or you don't ever put this underneath most glazes because it's gonna pinhole or something intricate about that glaze that isn't as forgiving, I guess.
Brown clay body. Some of
Yeah.
them don't work on a white clay body.
Right.
I think the consistency, it's worth it to buy commercial glazes. And however,
Even if
I
it's like
think
a clear, I feel like if it's just having like I feel like a studio should at least mix their own clear, right? I mean, they don't
No.
have. I don't know.
Every glaze recipe I tried Kitten's clear. I
they have
tried
good clear.
what?
Ryan has a really good clear.
Bad.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
Barb's clear, I think.
I'm painting like, detailed animals. You can't have them smear a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm,
I
yeah,
have,
I guess that's true. Like some commercial clears are like go-to, like
and it's
a
off,
zinc-free clear, or if there's a
often
speedball clear or whatever.
What clear do you use?
Mako.
Mako?
No, I shouldn't say I use the Mako Stoneware Clear, but I also like the mixing clear that's the Celadon.
Okay. I like to use the HF9. I know Speedball's working on a new clear and I want to try theirs. But obviously now if for earrings, I used to use the Mako Low Fire Matte.
Oh,
And then
a whole bucket of mid-fire mat.
and it always turns shiny because it's firing too hot. And but now I'm gonna start using Speedball because I'll show you the difference. The difference in the colors of the underglazes are impeccable. But I think, I mean, if you would have asked me this question like 10 years ago, I would have been like, you got to make your glazes, but not now.
Well, what if
It
you're in my
depends.
situation? Would you still like? I make all my own glazes except for 3, I think, but I have
Yeah,
about 10 or 12, maybe. I
yeah. If
have
you
about
have control
10.
stuff, like if it's your own studio and you're not sharing it with anybody, I think that making your own glazes is great, but also you have to worry about all of the changes in the market right now. Like
Yeah.
what all the shit that you've been going through with your
But
glazes.
you have that issue with commercial now too.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I
Ideally,
would
they're
say that it's ramped up more the last year or two with the material shortages and costs of certain materials going up and things. So, but I'm looking into maybe, Digital Fire's got options to change your recipes around. So if you're willing to do that, I think it's doable, but don't put all your eggs in one basket. So I
but
don't know. I
also
mean, I would be more at risk if I had all the same base glaze and it had those
right.
ingredients. Like if it all had Gersley borate in it and I had to change all of mine because they had the same base, then I would be in a pretty shitty spot. But a lot of mine don't have the same base, which in one aspect it increases the number of raw materials I have, but in the other it kind of helps with diversifying my risk a little bit.
And also, I think it matters how many pieces you're making and what type of pieces you're making, obviously. I mean, like if you're painting, then commercial glazes are really the way to go. Because they already have the gum solution, they already have the workability with them.
See, I like them in the buckets. I hate them in the jars.
Oh, really? You mean like commercial glazes in the buckets? But it's still, like you
You
paint
buy a
with,
5-gallon bucket?
Yeah, or the 2-gallon, 2.5.
but you paint with those ones?
I paint with underglazes.
Oh, okay. But like you're dipping your 2-gallon ones, right? Yeah. So what I'm saying is if you're painting stuff, commercial glazes is the way to go. But if
Yeah.
you're dipping, I think that homemade glazes are the way to go. Unless you're buying Laguna dipping glazes, or whatever.
I feel like a lot of folks go the commercial route and then they're saying, "Ooh, they get in a sticky spot when supply diminishes and they're having to backstock and they're like, I'm screwed because I can't get this glaze because they can't stock up enough, or it's just out of stock and they're in a tough spot and they're like, I need to make some of my own glazes so I'm not dependent on these that I can't control." Or they're just spending so much money on glazes that they're like, is there a way I can change some of these costs a little bit and make my money go further? I don't know.
Yeah. I feel I feel like me and Cheryl are in a position that like I don't know about you, Cheryl, but I am so easily swayed in one half that I'll be like, okay, I'll do something else. Like it doesn't bother me, you
Yeah.
know, if I like, I'm never going to have one item that is my bread and butter. So it doesn't bother me. But like when I was doing production, it had to be dipping glazes. Had to be. Had to be. And I like making my own.
Mm-hmm. You
But
had similar bases and you just changed colorants when you were doing it, right?
yeah, pretty much the same base. Yeah. Even then, when it was, if somebody had told me like, oh, I don't have this material, I'd be like, oh, well, I guess I'll figure something out.
Yeah. I would yeah, I was doing a lot and I wasn't like going fancy with the recipes. I was just picking colors I liked with I inherited a number of glazes from the person I bought my wheel from back in 2013. So I've had the floating blue, the juicy turquoise, the bone. I've had those glazes for 10 plus years and it's the same thing, you know. But if there's newer ones that have been added to the mix, it's generally been looking in the John Britt book. That's where I got my Seltzer Tomoku. That's where I got I think I got the glossy white and the clear from Becca, I think. So there had and I yeah, there
Clear,
hasn't been a lot of that have been added to the mix. I think shiny blue I got from John Britt's book too.
the clear is from Rebecca, I think.
Rebecca Graves. Okay. Um yeah, I'm not that adventurous with new glazes all the time, so but the newer ones that I have added like cappuccino and that's commercial and I've been sticking with the satin black and Inferno Red from Kentucky Mudworks, but Inferno Red they don't make that anymore. So I did
Yeah.
stock up on a lot of that. I've got, you
Satin
know,
Black in Roy Hasselbach's book or whatever the name, John Hassel. It's Ron and Roy. No, John and Roy.
John
That
and Roy
satin,
Hasselbuck.
beautiful glaze.
Yeah, from what I
Also,
heard, the satin blacks are hard to get at cone 6. It's definitely a cone 10 glaze mostly, but I was like, it seems a little risky getting a satin at cone 6 from what I heard, but I'm fine with the paying for that for now, but
I used to buy a satin black, and if you're on the West Coast, Tacoma Clay Art Center has a phenomenal satin black, and they'll ship you the dry materials.
I bet you that it's from that book
Yeah,
because it is like a perfect glaze.
yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, also a lot of folks that are mixing their own, they don't know how much it like you got to do some calculations to figure out how much it actually costs you to mix a batch. And some of them the costs are just so like I think I was looking up the recipe for the clear glaze and it was $6 for a 5-gallon bucket or something like that.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Or $12. Like, really? How much are you gonna pay for 5 gallons of a clear glaze if you're buying a commercial? So that kind of stuff, you gotta
70
you gotta
bucks.
do the calculations to figure out if it's gonna be worth it or not.
Ooh, for a 5-gallon bucket?
Oh yeah, I guess. But even if it's dry,
Yeah.
How much is it?
It's got to be at least 100. I think every Amico glaze is 100.
yeah, but Amico's so stinking expensive.
Yeah, but even then, I think even Laguna, I think maybe 75. But I don't.
75.
Yeah, I think
I think-
I think the 10-pound dry from Kentucky Mudworks for a satin black, I think it's like $92 for 10 pounds. That's not
Wow.
5 gallons. You got to get 2 bags of that.
Gallons.
I usually only buy it when it's on sale 20% or 15% at least. I never buy
Yeah.
it when I need it. I buy it yeah, when it's on sale. So I have at least 4 bags or I have 40 pounds of each glaze that's commercial stocked up just in case.
So very Ryan of you.
Mm-hmm. Got the money, spend it for the
I-
ceramics at least.
Carol's husband was telling me today how he buys propane like that.
Yeah, we
Oh,
buy our
really?
500 gallons in the summer so that we can have it for the whole year.
Uh-huh. Somebody
Maybe-
said that August is the cheapest time to get it. Is that
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I feel like it wasn't that variable when I get mine refilled. I feel like it's been about $100 because I get my propane tank refilled for the soda kiln, and it
But
pretty much
obviously-
drain it empty, and it's about a full tank, 100-pound tank.
Yeah, but I assume that 500 gallons is a little bit different than 100 or 100 pounds.
I feel like the price was about $1 a pound. I didn't think it varied that much since I've been filling it this year, but they didn't line item out the price like that.
And pump it in our tank.
Yeah,
And it's our whole house.
right.
Okay. What else do we got? Commission, worth it or not worth it? You already know my answer.
You said did you say commissions in general or?
Commissions in general.
All my ornaments are commissioned.
I think I've come around to commissions the last year and a half or 2 years. I think if you have a comfortability with when to say yes and when to say no, you generally kind of have that gut feeling that I think it can be worth it, but don't feel reluctant to add a little bit of extra price on it for that exclusivity and that customer service that you're offering by having it made specifically for them.
Limit their palette.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't want to risk like if they request a specific glaze combo that I don't generally use. Like I don't usually want to risk that or try it on something smaller that I can understand what it's going to look like when it's scaled up. So I'm not, going to ruin the whole thing because I don't know what it's actually going to look like in reality when it's done. Yeah, it depends about the order, but I've been pretty willing to take commissions on more this year.
And you said you do commissions for your ornaments?
Yeah.
How much are your ornaments? And they're hand painted.
Yeah, they're $60 an ornament.
Yeah, that's worth it.
When you say commit, so is it like you're drawing on a pet or is it scripting text on it or what do you?
Or I'll put 2 on an ornament, but each ornament is $60. So
Wow.
I did 17 one year. That killed me.
But it's like
God.
portraits and things like that, or what kind of customizations are you doing?
Perfect detail from the photo.
Oh,
Have you
okay.
considered doing it on? Have you considered doing them on your Procreate and then transferring it with a decal?
I don't think it would. I mean, like an oil painting.
Yeah.
I don't think I
Mm.
could.
It wouldn't get that level of detail.
I think it could, but when you're doing a third firing, I don't know if you see those mugs that's what they're doing. They're using a decal, but it's on the surface then. So
Yeah.
they do wear off. They do
No, they don't.
decals.
Mm-mm.
Have you never had gold leaf come off?
Okay, but that's gold.
How is that different than any other color?
Because the gold is like melting on top where the decal is melting into, isn't it?
I don't think so. I mean, I've had
Because
I
there's
think the gold fired a lot cooler, right? Like the ones that Isaac had sent me for the mug club or whatnot. Those are baked on. Those are overglazed decals in color, and it's fired to 010. It's a lot warmer.
regardless, we got off topic.
yeah.
Becca, what was your answer? You said we already know your answer. What's your answer?
Oh,
Plus, they're not going to put an ornament in the dishwasher.
no, that's true. I don't think commissions are worth it for me at least because every time I do one, it doesn't matter if it turns out okay, I get frustrated in the process.
Mm-hmm.
It just never goes the way that it's supposed to. I'm cursed from commissions.
Mhm.
is some of that customer expectation just it your process like just unknowns with the making process or timeline or
Yeah, and also just people. Like,
yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of it you got to be willing to flex and
that it's
deal
gonna
with the things that come up with.
the only commissions I will do is, hey, I want a mug. You can make it however you want. Those are the only ones that I will do. Or like, I want this item. You can make it however you want.
Hmm.
I still need red earrings.
We can work on that.
I feel like that mug thing, I mean, for me, I would already have mugs and I would just be like, why don't you come over and I'll show you the 60 mugs I have and you could just pick one.
At that point.
Yeah, you're right.
You know?
Um, yeah, I think it's definitely changed a little bit. I'm trying to think of the commissions I've done this year, but a lot of them are like, I mean, that one that I was talking about, that shot glass one, I was reluctant, but I was also, let me add a few dollars on here and say, okay, this is how much it's going to cost if I do it. I got to paint the glaze on, but I've used that glaze enough that it's just one mug. I think I can get it through. So I think she'll be happy with it. She was very grateful she already bought something from me before too. So she seemed very, I understand if it's not going to work. Like she, she gave me confidence that she'd be happy with it. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like I'm willing to help you out.
Me too.
Because she was expecting me to say no.
I
And
back a statement. I will do a commission for a friend with an urn. I will buckle. I will buckle for dead people. I I will buckle.
you will buckle for dead people.
I'll buckle for dead people. I don't know if I would buckle for a dead animal, but I'd probably buckle for dead people.
Hmm.
Maybe a dead animal, but I don't know. Um, what else do we got? Well, for the mug club order for 200 mugs, I feel like that's kind of in commissions, but I'm gonna go with an absolute never again.
What did
For you.
Oh, I told you, well, I'm cursed. I'm like straight up cursed. I have a mug club curse. I every time I do a mug club, something goes wrong. One time, 60 handles broke.
Hmm.
I threw away 60 fully done mugs once. That were, well, they weren't fired, but they were, yeah.
I'm trying to decide whether I want to go with like how much of this is like within your control, how much of it was like pushing the limits of clay, how much of it is just like a fluke with the clay. Like,
No,
I
it
mean,
was
shit happens in clay. So like,
was the clay. Do you remember that? It was the clay.
I think you said, yeah, the handles popped off of a lot of them, and it just happened to coincide with when you were making these,
It was to come.
right?
Yeah, and like I actually remember coming to your house in the middle of it and being like, "Hey, can I try something?" And I like pulled the handle and put it on a mug. And
Right.
what the fuck? Why does my clay suck so much?
gotta be out here?
Yeah.
Under your blanket. I'm asking.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely have to have a certain amount of confidence and comfortability with your materials and your skill set and what you're capable of to take on something at that scale. I think I would do it again, the Mug Club. 200 felt like a lot. I would be much more comfortable with 100. I would feel much more confident about my turnaround time and the 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 bulk of time it took to complete that just was so large that
Yeah.
it would be something I wouldn't. I mean, dollar wise, it was $6,000, so like it was
Right.
nice. That
Mhm.
was, but it was also 3 months of work or however much it was. I think the timeline, I would adjust the timeline. So I think I would do it again. 200 would be a push, but 100 to 150, I would definitely do that again. I think it was worth it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe turn it down to like 75.
What'd you say?
Hold on 1 second while I tell Cheryl. Maybe turn it down to 80.
Okay.
I'm burning up. I'm
In the hot tub?
my legs are really warm.
It's 98.
It's 98 degrees, but it's also like, I don't know, I live in a van. I'm used to very cold temperatures.
Hmm. That's a big jump from 98 to 80.
Not really.
Well, I mean, it'll take time to get down, but
85, a heated pool temperature. Yeah, it'll take time to get down to that.
You don't want to be at 80.
I mean, she's not going to be in there when it's at 80.
Right. That's what I was thinking. If you just turned it off, I'll just get out and it'll be fine. Hi, Lloyd. Lloyd's finally has freedom for like the first time in probably 2 weeks, and he's like, "Oh, hey, what's going on, guys?" Like,
Uh-huh. So the next one I had on here was teaching. So I specifically had teaching in a community studio. Based on what I enjoy doing and the time invested and the cost that I'm getting out of it, I don't think it would be worth it for me in the future. And obviously I'm at a point where I've taught other workshops and other ways of making money through teaching that are more suited to what I enjoy. So in that aspect, I would not say the teaching in a community studio is worth it for me.
okay, Lloyd, maybe not.
And I was doing, I did some multi-week classes. I also did some date nights. It's just, yeah, the money that I would walk home with after just didn't feel like enough when I was like, I would rather be doing something else.
I'm gonna go with no on teaching again, but workshops, I'm gonna go with a yes. A one-off situation, abso-fucking-lutely.
Totally.
But a weekly class, I'm not a fan of. Not
Mhm.
They constantly try to cancel on you, make it up.
yeah.
And Cheryl, I'm guessing you're actually part of the person managing schedules and dealing with like talking to like the logistics with the students and all that stuff.
Well, I have a keyless entry. So I teach classes, or I was teaching classes, but if they're a member, they get complete access.
And do you still have members now that you're not teaching, or did you kind of cancel that first?
I have one member right now.
Oh, okay.
So technically I still have one.
Yeah. Members are great because you just like, that kind of gives you the community without having to teach them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many students are in a class for you,
Uh,
Cheryl?
Class, I'll do 12 to 17. I
Oh,
think.
that's a lot.
Yeah, because if they're making just mugs, I have 3 tables. And if I bring in an extra small table, I mean, they only need a little space.
Christ almighty, I could never do that. I'm realizing, well, I've already known this, but I have such a space issue just personally. It's not, I know that other people don't have the same issue of space that I do, but like, as I'm touring around all these other studios, I'm like, I could never do this. I could never do this.
Well, if you're teaching a class, like I did a Christmas tree class, 12 people, I have 3 tables. I put 4 people at a table. It was perfect.
Okay, that's fair. And they're sitting or they're standing?
They have stools or chairs, depending
Okay.
on the table they're at.
Yeah, if they're not moving around, I guess that's okay.
I
Yeah, if
pre-roll.
they have everything at their table. Rather, if you had people going to and from slab rollers and going and getting glazes and going and getting brushes and all that, washing stuff out.
No, they each got a bin of tools. Slip is already on the table. Everything's ready.
Yeah, that works. That's better.
Yeah.
No, I don't want them all walking around.
Speaking of slabs, do you know what I realized is that Cheryl made me this amazing
Did you
palette.
ever find it?
Well, I had it and then I lost it, and I know where it is now that I'm looking at you. It's Melissa, if you're listening to this, up on the berm where I used to have my stove, I'm pretty sure there's a pallet up there. It might be in my stuff, but I'm pretty sure there might be a pallet in the bushes.
It's probably covered in snow right now.
Basically.
Honey.
But yeah, I don't know. One time I didn't realize how much I would enjoy doing these like jewelry workshops, but I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, man, I could do this. I could do this. Like just travel around and do workshops. It's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
To put more time between them, but I could definitely do
I
it.
mean, your expenses are also a little bit more inclusive because you're already traveling, you're already driving, so you're making it more enticing for the people hosting you for the workshop because they don't have to pay for you to travel there.
Right.
Everybody likes her.
That too.
Yeah.
And I bring everything to it. Like they don't have to fire their kiln. They don't have to supply glazes. They don't have to supply rollers. They don't have to do anything. They literally have to have a table. Like I need it,
Mhm.
and that's it.
Right.
If you had a slab roller, that's great. I'm still gonna use my own canvases. Like,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah, I think going forward the teaching will I do support those one-off workshops. Those are fun.
Yeah.
The bookkeeping workshops I think are going to continue on my side. The soda workshops obviously going to continue. Talking I mean in a way that the education through here is much more my speed than doing a class where I'm teaching techniques of making pots and doing it rinse and repeat. And it's just different. Maybe the cocktails and clay where I hosted at the house. I think
Yeah,
that might be something that I'm toying with where I'm like, I'm willing to teach somebody that's new for the right price, but it's also just fun because it's here and I get to do the, serve a drink with it or whatever. So, I think that's more my speed, but
If they bring appetizers.
oh my God. I definitely like the next row of workshops that I'm doing. If there is not a snack time involved, I'm not doing it. Like, and also it's beneficial for things to dry for mine, but like
yeah.
I definitely want it to be 3.5 hours instead of 3 so we can have a 30-minute break time. Like, I
Yeah,
want,
you should tell them, hey, I'm coming visit your town. I request that you have something unique to your city for snack time.
or even, I don't even care. I'll fucking stop at Costco and get goldfish and fruit snacks. I don't care.
Oh, just simple things. Okay.
I mean, like, if you want to bring a spread, that's fine. But I want to have a little chitty chatty, like, when we're not, like, they can work with Clay if they want to, but we also bring out the food and we are not stressed for time and,
I hosted a teacher workshop and they brought wine, they brought
hell yeah.
snacks, they even brought the wine glasses.
Yeah, hell yeah. You can always count on teachers to show up with wine. Always. They're the worst students, but they are great at supplying food and wine.
But they don't also care how bad it turns out.
That is true.
They're just there for a good time. I mean, when you got the wine and the, yeah.
Right.
What about the next one?
We got fancier tools, fancier equipment. So we're not doing the Advanced Kiln Shelf sponsor this week, but purchasing Advanced Kiln Shelves.
Do you have advancers?
I don't have any yet.
Yet.
That
Yeah.
sounded like she wants them.
My gosh, to have thin, light, no more cleaning outside and having all that debris and geez.
Yeah. Totally worth it.
It's worth it. It's worth it. I would say the only time that advancers are not worth it is when you don't glaze the outside of your pieces. That's the only
Oh
time.
yeah.
Yeah. I get unless people are using, I don't know. I was thinking like if you're using porcelain or something that's not glazed on the outside, but I mean, then you got maybe it would get plucked off the shelf, but then you put alumina down, so it's not that big of a deal.
If you have porcelain, you want advancers, but if you have stoneware, I wouldn't necessarily need it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the positive on your body long term, the more efficient firing. I mean, we've talked about them a number of times, but yeah, there's so many pluses there. I would maybe if you're just starting out, I wouldn't get them because that's a huge hefty investment.
Yeah.
That seems like it's definitely a luxury purchase, but
100%.
it's been worth it long term for sure.
It's definitely not a I'm setting up my studio immediately, I'm gonna buy advancers right now, purchase either. It's a get your head in the game first and then do it.
Mm-hmm. I think they also hold their value too. I haven't sold any, but I suspect if people sell them, they.
Them and I sold them for much cheaper than I should have, but it was also to Rebecca. So I feel like that was a pretty fair trade. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay, what about fancier tools? I'm thinking like well,
Oh,
I put diamond core tools in here for carving or sanding or
Bison
you got bison tools for the trimming.
or the Japanese ones, same,
Mhm.
same. And what oh, those MKM rollers, those are fucking expensive. I mean, they are.
Yeah, but
Well,
What's the alternative for some of those I mean the detail that you get on that, you'd
I
probably
know.
have to 3D print something instead.
I'll hand carve some of my own rollers though too.
Yeah.
Hand
As
carve, yeah.
I would
who,
only buy them for students.
right, as
So
somebody who has purchased many of those rollers in the last couple of months, I consider that as an expensive item.
Yeah. Maybe get them when they're on sale.
Yeah. Diamond Core, what do we think? I mean, there's knockoffs of Diamond Core.
I have not tried the knockoff. I've tried different sanding pads. I think if I were to say sanding pad specifically, I think that you could take her to leave it. I would say not worth it if you're using them like for like down to thousands of pots. I mean, I'm just doing a quick sand, but if sanding is like your go-to and you're really churning through those,
Yeah.
I mean, definitely test some other options to see and run them up against one another. But
yeah, I think there's just as good of options as far as a sanding pad,
Yeah. Agreed.
but the fabric ones that will curve around something, you can't find those other places.
Yeah, you can.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, you gotta show me, girl.
Well, I mean, I haven't found
fabric, are you talking about the really thin that are not even on?
the
like
sandpaper
they-
ones. I haven't found those, but I have found the thin ones that are the squares, the small squares. Yeah, you can buy a sanding. You can buy a sanding belt for $100
Oh, really?
and cut it into 15 sanding pads.
And it's diamond, huh?
And it's diamond and they work just as good. So as far as sandpaper, we all know my opinion on that. We won't get into that. But I'm a
Your
fan
opinion
of
is there's options out there. Is your opinion?
Baby,
Keep it short.
bottom of your mugs, your bottoms of your cups.
yeah, they're 1,500, but they're still not as smooth as some of the crystalline people. But yeah, I've maybe purchased one diamond core sanding pad, and that was back in the day.
Now I do like, because I do a lot of carving,
Yeah.
the fine point. I have not found another good fine point diamond tip carving tool,
What about the Kemper one? I guess Kemper's out of business anyway.
but they don't have a diamond one.
Well, it's not diamond anyway. It's just metal.
No,
You're talking
there's
about the ones where you're kind of scraping. You're not not the loop tools.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
a little
Oh,
tiny ball or a little tiny cone. There's like a football head. There's a round head.
okay.
Mhm.
Tiny, like
So
a
like a
ballpoint tip.
stylus. A stylus. Okay.
They're
Yeah.
amazing.
Do your neighbors hate us right now?
No,
Okay.
look at how far away they are.
They're pretty close.
Oof.
How close you talking here?
The 5 acre lots.
Yeah, but they're like, I mean, that one's like right there.
He has a big garage in between.
Oh, that's a garage. I thought that was his house.
No,
Okay, we're good.
You said fine.
Uh,
You said fine point, Cheryl.
yeah, they're
Or are
like
they- Are they the Sgraffito ones?
I
Probably
think they're the
that.
Sgraffito,
There's
Yeah,
Sgraffito.
'cause-
Yeah, they got different cones and football shape and stuff.
and they have two ends on every one.
yeah. Okay.
So you're using that at Greenware or Bisque?
Greenware.
Greenware. Okay.
You could use it at Bisque.
You could, but I think you'd kill them.
I know, but I mean, like,
But don't drop them. The tip disappears.
you
I
could
mean,
use
they go all the way down to 1 millimeter ball, is what it says.
Yes, and they are really, really nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suspect something like that would hold its value long term. If you, that's what I was gonna say. The carving wise, I do think they are quality, but I also haven't tried the other knockoff ones for
And
diamond core tool carving loop
so
tools.
I don't have an opinion on that. So, um,
But otherwise, I like the Kemper regular, it comes as a 5-pack.
yeah.
Those are like some of my favorites. And even the ones that broke, it has a pointy end. It works great.
Yeah. Yeah, the Kemper's graffito ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little ones, right?
There's like a round circle.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about the
So-
bison, Becca? You've used bison, right?
So is Cheryl. I love bison and I love my hunter Shin Schwen.
Shin Lee or Shin.
I think
you
it's
say
Shin
his
Shin Schwen. I don't know, but his tools are great. There's also a toolmaker RD tools, and
Mm.
his the tungsten carbide.
Oh yeah.
I think that buying tungsten carbide for a trimming tool is abso-fucking-lutely worth it.
They are amazing.
100% worth it. You have to figure out how to use it. It's a bit of a learning curve, but
Yeah, finding the right dryness.
right. But once you figure it out, it is butter, butter and money, butter and money.
Okay.
Yeah, they're perfect. And I keep mine in a sunglass case holder so that they don't fall. I have two. So I have the Shin Schwen ones. I do not know his name. I have one from him that's the teardrop shape.
You
And
bought
then
it this last time because
I bought it this last time. And then I have a paddle one that's a bison, but you can't buy bison anymore. Like,
he did finally contact me, so I could have bought more from.
I think he passed, right?
Oh, really?
did he pass?
I'm trying to look this up so I don't speak incorrect, but
No, I don't think so.
who's the there's somebody who is there another really really fancy trimming tool that I'm confusing with bison?
No.
No, he is a very old man.
I thought there was something announced that somebody just passed, and I thought that's
There was a man in Goshen that just passed. The guy that made Trevor's house.
yeah, but I'm scouring Clay Buddies because I remember it being mentioned, and I don't want
Yeah.
to say incorrectly, but
Well, that's okay. Also, this is not a super expensive tool, but mud tools are 155% worth it too. Like,
Yes.
mud tools rib versus any other rib is garbage compared to mud tools, in my opinion.
I did buy one recently, the blue one. Maybe it's Sim.
yeah, XIEM.
Yeah, I think they pronounce it Sim, but
Yeah.
I only bought it just to see if
Yeah.
I'd like it. But I'm so used to
The mud tools.
the mud tools. Like,
Yeah, and I love that they have the different levels of hardness because I like the blue ones personally.
I have one blue one because it's my favorite for that shape.
Yeah. We have when I was at the studio in Monroe, we had the coveted green rib and it literally had that like label on it. And I was like, if you lose this, you're buying me a new one. Like, screw you.
Like the
Yeah,
greens
and
the red.
also it's good to note that Mud Tools is now accepting orders right now. So if you'd like to support them, you definitely should.
Or send them money to rebuild.
Yeah,
I gave him 100.
yeah.
So the Phil Paborka, he did pass in mid-October actually.
Wow.
Yeah, it said he would somebody said October 22nd would have been his 71st birthday.
No, that's a bummer.
So he passed right before his 71st birthday.
Woof. Well, now we're sad. So you
Well.
can't buy bison anymore. That's not an option.
No.
I feel lucky that I have a bison tool.
Well, and he was very remiss as far as not ever replying back for a long time.
Yeah.
And then he emailed me but by then I had already gone to Seek and already bought another one and I felt bad, but
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, I think he was just so behind on orders that it was just, I mean, obviously with his age too and health and.
But I know like the first Seek I saw him at, he didn't even know how to, he had other people there doing the transactions for him because he didn't have any of the technology.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
No, he was only 10 years older than me.
You're in much better shape, I promise. Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of tools out in the market today, so definitely sample them and see what's worth it.
okay. I think that we should only do a few more because it's like 11:50. So
There's a couple show ones on here. Actually, there was one that I thought of at the end that I think would probably resonate with people. So, what about like seasonal items? So, I'm
no,
talking about like Christmas ornaments, think like Halloween decor, things that are very tied to holidays or times of the year that if you don't sell them, you're kind of stuck with them.
right. For me, it's not worth it, but I know for you it is.
I sell ornaments like crazy.
Yeah. Do you do shows or do you just sell them?
I have a gift shop that I put stuff in as well.
Okay.
But ornaments sell. Normally I do a show in November and I probably sell 300, 400 ornaments.
Wow. Did you
Many
hear
Do you
that?
change them much from year to year, or will those carry over if they don't sell?
I always hand carve the designs. And some of them I was slip trailing for the longest time. Then I started carving and making my own texture plates so that when I make them, they're, my own designs. So they get very detailed and makes it fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So for you, definitely worth it. Becca, you said no. Did you ever make seasonal items?
Oh yeah. I made seasonal items and it was never worth it for me. I just always had leftovers and extras because I think for me, the reason why it's not worth it is because I don't like Christmas and I don't like, I mean, I do like Halloween, but it's like something that is not something near and dear to my heart. Like the most seasonal I will do is pumpkins. That is it.
Yeah, I do like pumpkins.
But those are like more, I mean, that can span months.
Yeah,
Like,
at least it could span from August to November or late November. I mean,
right. And I think that just for me, it's not worth it. But
would you
but
consider plant stakes seasonal, or is that
No, well, it is seasonal because it's only summer,
I guess, but it's like,
spring and summer, but it encompasses many months.
yeah. Okay. Then maybe I should change to holiday items. I will never do holiday items. I don't think holiday items are worth it for me.
yeah,
But
like people make heart bowls for,
like I said,
Valentine's or
like those type of things. So like it's like people know, right? Like if you are not a Christmas person, they're like, we can tell, you know?
yeah, if you started throwing some trees and
Like
making them decorative trees for the holidays.
if you like trees and snowmen for charms, but that's because I want to do things monthly and I don't consider that really seasonal. But like I want to do
Yeah,
monthly.
I've only ever made seasonally, I've only ever made ornaments. And the only reason I was doing that was trying to reuse some leftover clay. The first batch that I made them, I wasn't rolling out slabs and trying to do all I could with it. I was having a little bit of fun with the ornaments and adding texture to it, but I never liked the carryover to the next year. And how often are you making something that you're happy with it a year later?
Yeah.
It's just like, and then when do you have to start making that item to actually market it? So for me, it was not worth it.
Yeah, I never
But
have to.
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
really love doing it and like I would have to set aside a batch of time. Like for you, Cheryl, you probably set aside, you're probably focused on it specifically for 2 or 3 months or
Oh.
longer.
No, because you can make a lot at once.
That's true. And it's like Isaac with his pumpkins, you know, they focus on it for like months and months and months.
Yeah, he starts throwing pumpkins May 1st, I think. And he's throwing pumpkins every single week all the way up until September to get like 800 pumpkins, just the thrown pumpkins. And then Karina's making the hand built 3,000 of the mini pumpkins.
Absolutely worth it. If you find your need.
For those items too.
What the fuck?
Oh, there he is.
Are you there?
Yeah,
Just
you
froze
cut
up.
out for a second. It sounded like you said if you find it and it works for you, then just write it. And then I couldn't hear what Cheryl said.
Yeah, that's basically it. That's basically what we said.
You need a show to be able to put them at those so that you're not stuck with these things. You know, it has to.
Or an internet
Yeah, sell them online.
posse.
I know, but who wants to deal with that?
Yeah. But as Cheryl said so very eloquently, who wants to deal with online?
Okay.
We should
The
probably
last
wrap.
one, the last one
because-
can the last one be, since it's season, what? I missed what you just said.
You're lagging really bad.
So let me tell you this though, with ornaments, all of my ornaments come with a box,
Oh yeah, that's fair.
and every person that
Mm.
buys them, like 6 or 10,
Yeah.
because they're already ready for them
Yeah.
to gift.
Okay. The only other one I had on here was show related outdoor shows in once it starts getting cold. And I've decided I'm not, well, this could be in the middle of the summer or in the winter when it starts getting cold. A lot of those have not been worth it. So I'm thinking like July 4th weekend. I'm getting one in mid-November here. I would be doing a show on Saturday outdoors, but I've done it the last couple of years. I'm like, nope, we're hitting that time. It's got to be a special show that's worth it, like financially, to be something I enjoy doing. And I've kind of decided a lot of those are not worth it.
Agree. I've done a show for 10 days from 10 days before Christmas to Christmas Eve, and it was the worst show ever.
Yeah, those shows where they have you do kind of like a pop-up style and you're in a designated spot every weekend leading up to the holidays or whatever, and you
Oh.
have to staff it. That
The
sounds
o-
brutal.
The only show that was worth it, the only show that was worth it for me that was like later in the season was Oktoberfest in Leavenworth. That weekend was a fucking bomb, but that's it.
That was probably in September though, right? Or was that in October?
No, it's in October. It's like the 3 weekends in October.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of those you're additive to their vibe that they're doing. Like the hours you have to put in to be there is just usually any show that's longer than like 7 or 8 hours, anything that goes past like 7 p.m., I'm like, nope, not gonna do it.
Nope. If I have to bring lights, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, how much is that really gonna be worth it? Yeah, you're there from 10 to 8 or 10 to, 11 for more than one day. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yep. And Cheryl doesn't do shows, so I guess you do one.
I usually do 2 shows a year, but one show is in my studio, so
Yeah.
I don't have to worry. The other one I go to, and that is a very good show. I didn't do it this year though.
Yeah.
Okay. Becca, have you done pop-ups before? The only other show one I had on here was pop-ups. Like, are they worth it or not?
I have books and I don't think they're worth it.
I think it depends on who's setting them up.
Yeah, that's true. And
it's
where they are.
Yeah, if there's something that they have done every year and they've got every single lady in town goes every single year, they are crazy good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call that a pop-up generally though, right? I mean, a pop-up I would think it's only you and maybe one other person, or it's like a guest invite. It's a small thing.
Yeah, I mean, pop-ups can be fun in the day, but I don't think they're ever financially worth it. They might be a
Even
mo
if you're not paying anything for the booth, I feel like
they might-
I mean, if you have the time and you're just getting going and you want to kind of like talk to customers and get a feel for talking about your work, I think they can be worth it at that point, but
and like if like let's say you do a pop-up, like I had a friend that did a pop-up in a leather store. If some leather store asked me to do a pop-up, I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's do it because I know I'm walking out of that store with a good trade. Like
yeah,
I
you're willing to be there to get some quality leather items.
like if I know there's a good trade in it for me, yeah, I'm in. I,
Mm,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
yeah.
the only pop-up adjacent thing I mentioned was like Backyard Craft Show, which it's the one that I host myself, but we have people that come and there's about 10 different artists. So like if you look at it on paper, financially, it's probably not worth it because we kind of like even out and you know it, but I think overall it's worth it to do something unique and it's just you can I'm catering the experience for the artists as well as the patrons, and it's something different that we can offer. And
And like financially, it might not be worth it. Like for me, when I've done it in the past years, mostly because I have pretty garbage displays, it's not usually worth it for me financially, but it's really worth it for me emotionally. I think it's so much fun, you know?
yeah, when you're able to actually go outside of your booth and talk to one another and not feel like, oh, I can't leave my booth because I'm worried about missing sales or whatever. Like it's so tiny of an area that you can
Yeah,
socialize and you can eat a meal around one another and
yeah. And
you know
like
when,
you're so much care into it, you know? Like
right.
she cares a lot. So
Yeah, I would say those are definitely the home show, the intimate. I think those are definitely worth it.
yeah. Oh, one last thing to add. A garage sale show is 100% worth it.
Really?
Yes, because and I
What
mean
do you mean by that when you say that garage sale?
okay, so what I've done garage sale shows in the past was like seconds and pieces that I didn't want anymore and like mystery box type items where I just was like everything's cheap. Come and get it. Like you're not saying it's a garage sale, but like come and get it. It's
Hmm.
still like people are going to come because they know who you are, but like it's so much fun just to get rid of crap, you know?
Oh, definitely.
And like and also a lot of like art centers will do garage sale shows like so that you go and you sell your stuff for really cheap too. Those are a lot of fun and they're also like you can make so much money and at the like the end product
Honestly, getting rid of the things is probably
worth
feels
more.
more lifting than the money that you get out of it. That's like, okay,
Like
that's a
at the
little cherry on top.
beginning of my career when right after I bought my house, so probably 2015, I did a garage sale show at my house and I made $1,500 in 2 days.
Wow.
Like, but I'm selling cups that were $1, $2, and $3. Like,
Oh my gosh, you had that many cups?
I made $1,500 from just that.
Wow.
And I mean, like, I had some stuff that was like new, but most of it was garbage.
Hmm.
Garbage. So,
I think John Schmidt does that every spring. I think
Yeah.
he has people come to his house and he has a second annual second sale, or maybe it's at one of the coffee shops
yeah.
and they do an annual one. And I think spring is a good time of year to just deal with, okay, what do I need to make room for
Yeah.
in the studio and clear it out. You know, wait for those checks to come in, the tax return checks.
Yep.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay. That should be
That
the end.
was a good bookend.
That was a good bookend.
Nice. All right, Cheryl, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. It was fun.
Becca, enjoy the hot tub.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna get out. I'm all pruny. It was a long time to be
I
in.
mean, you've been in. I don't know how long you were in there before we started, but we've been in there. We've been talking for at least 2.5 hours. So
Again, and I'm in the hot tub for another podcast. We're gonna definitely turn the heat down.
Yeah, 96 would be better.
Yeah, like 95, maybe 94. I just keep going
What?
down.
Yeah, 94 gets it.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. We'll talk
all
to you.
right. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch
Yeah.
you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to another episode of Wheel Talk. This podcast is made possible through the contributions of all of our listeners who always ask us great questions, leave us reviews, and contact with us through social media. Thanks to all the fellow makers as well who take time to be interviewed and share about their lives and businesses.
And thank you to Ashley from Boldover Ceramics and Lindy from Lindy Garner Ceramics for their assistance on the Wheel Talk Podcast Instagram. You are invaluable. Thank you to everybody.